The art of dying, the art of living, is the art of being fully awake, of truth burning in the innermost being, of relinquishing any resistance against life and against death. Veetman and Sukhi are directing the Institute for Living and Dying, and they are guiding this transformational process every other year at the feet of the Himalayas in northern India. The art of living and dying is a 1 week long transformational process of learning how to die as a separate ego, to live fully, authentically, being truly yourself and manifesting your individuality while you are alive. When you have recognized your true nature, you can live a fearless life, a life of consciousness, compassion and creativity. This process is about learning how to know yourself, to die into love, to live in deep surrender to what arises in your life, moment to moment. The process of dying, dissolution of the elements and the inner dissolution. Find a comfortable position. Allow the awareness to come to the breath. Allow the body to rest in stillness and relaxation. This is a description of the process of dying, as it may be experienced from the inside by the witness. Imagine that your friends or your family are around you in the moments of your death. Observe and visualize within yourself these processes as they unfold. Feel and witness your consciousness withdrawing from one level of experience after another. From time to time you will hear the sound of the meditation bells. This will help you to be conscious and alert. At any time you may want to remember your spiritual master or your teacher. Allow the presence to guide you and to protect you in the process of dying. First, the level of physical form begins to be absorbed. The physical body becomes weak and thin. It is quite evident to those around you that the body is dissolving, falling apart. As the element of earth dissolves in your physical body, your arms and legs are loose and heavy at your side. They are no longer in your control. A feeling of heaviness weighs them down. A feeling of sinking into the bed, of falling or sinking into the earth. In this process, we practice Osho's active meditations. We sit in guided meditations into letting go of body and mind, for relaxing into trust, and realizing the inner silence in the depths of your own being that is always already present. We inquire into what has remained incomplete in your life, what is essential for living your life, and what is not. We experience grief and loss and the healing, learning to develop true compassion and presence, the art of living each moment so consciously as if it was your last. We are learning about dying into love. We explore different ways of going into the experience of dying. Facing your existential aloneness, and how we can heal our sense of being separate from the whole of existence. Veetman transmits a contemporary understanding of the mental ego and the way to go beyond separation towards oneness, through love, meditation and inquiry. The main focus of this process is how we can learn to know our formless being so consciously that the fear of losing this body disappears, and we can let go in death consciously without any fears. There is no strength anymore in what has been a solid body. The sense of sight fails completely. The earth element is withdrawing into the water element. The secret inner sign for this is a vision of a shimmering blue mirage, like water in the heat. At this point, you may visualize your spiritual master or teacher in your heart center in the middle of your chest. Remember the moments of peace and acceptance that you have experienced in your lifetime. The physical body no longer experiences pain, pleasure, or indifference. Feelings of happiness, suffering, and indifference are recognized as being of the same nature. You no longer remember or differentiate between physical and mental impressions. The element water dissolves. You begin to lose control over your bodily fluids, which are going to dry up slowly. Blood, urine, saliva, semen, and sweat are becoming dried up. Sensations alternate between heat and cold, and you may feel like drowning in an ocean or being swept away by a huge river. The secret inner sign is a vision of smoke arising. At this point, you may visualize your spiritual master or teacher in the center below the navel. Remember the moments of strength and clarity that you have experienced in your lifetime. Now, the level of perception is absorbed by consciousness. You can no longer remember the names of friends or family, or recognize who they are. It becomes more and more difficult to perceive anything outside you. Sounds and sights become confused. it feels like as if the whole world is moving away from you. The element fire dissolves into air. The heat of the physical body disappears. The inner experience is as of being consumed by a flame. Breathing in becomes weaker, and breathing out becomes stronger and longer. The secret inner sign is a vision of shimmering red sparks dancing above an open fire, trembling like distant stars. At this point, you may visualize your spiritual master or your teacher in the center of your forehead, in the third eye, the center of consciousness. Remember the moments of clarity and pure consciousness that you have experienced in your lifetime. A gentle, loving, inner peace and silence is here and now, in this moment. It has always been this way. It is always here. It is right here within you and all around you. A stillness, an apparent void, a seeming nothingness out of which everything arises, exists, and eventually returns. In meditation, silence comes on its own accord. You simply go on watching the mind without any control, without any repression, and silence comes suddenly, just like a breeze, and with the silence, the fragrance of the flowers. That is your blissfulness. It is your own fragrance, which you were not capable of knowing, because there was so much noise. Next, the level of unconscious tendencies is absorbed, of unconscious conditionings and unconscious beliefs. All unconsciousness is absorbed by consciousness itself. And becomes more and more difficult to breathe. The body can no longer move at all. Your eyes begin to turn upwards, looking towards the center at your forehead. All of your vital life energy is now focused on the center in your forehead, the center of consciousness itself. Any memories of work in the world, of success and failure, of purpose and significance dissolve. All that seems so empty and meaningless now. Your last contact with the physical environment is slipping away, as if a great wind is sweeping away the whole world. the element air is dissolving into consciousness itself. The last senses of touch and taste are lost.
And what is it to live in love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from
The secret inner sign is a vision of a flaming torch, or the light of a candle sputtering in a dark room with a red glow. Breathing becomes weaker and weaker. Suddenly, you take your last breath. The last out-breath disappears into space. Just a slight warmth remains at the heart center. Your entire awareness focuses on melting your consciousness with the consciousness of your spiritual master or teacher. You remember the love, the compassion, and the unconditional acceptance you have experienced in his or her presence. Now you realize that the spiritual master is a reflection of your own spiritual nature. You are beginning to awaken from the dream of the life that you have lived. Finally, the level of individual consciousness is absorbed by consciousness itself. This dissolves the delusions of a separate reality, of what you called my mind, my consciousness. All beliefs and superstitions of the delusive mind dissolve. All dualities and concepts dissolve. You as consciousness enter more and more into an experience of absolute oneness with all that exists. At this point, the next phases of the inner dissolution evolve in inner visions. A clear, luminous, empty space, like the bright sky after long rain. This is the clear light of death. What is called the dying process is completed. This clear consciousness is the Buddha nature, the real source of all consciousness. Allow yourself as consciousness to merge with a clear light. Now there's only clarity, the awareness of luminosity and infinite space. Maintain this vision as long as you can. The vision of final death of the body-mind complex. When this vision is lost and your evolution is not yet complete, the individual self moves towards a new rebirth. People are not afraid of death. They are afraid of losing their separation. They are afraid of losing their ego. Once you start feeling separate from existence, the fear of death arises, because then death seems to be dangerous. You will no longer be separate. What will happen to your ego, your personality? And you have cultivated the personality with such care, with such great effort. You have polished it your whole life, and death will come and destroy it. If you understand, if you see, if you can feel and experience that you are not separate from existence, that you are one with it, all fear of death disappears. because there's nobody to die inside you. In the first place, there's nobody at all. Existence lives through you.